Whether it's the regular season or the off-season, we have you covered as we give you the best Tennessee Titans and NFL news and insight that a fan could ask for. You're watching the Titan Upload Network.
Watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. It's been a while, guys, but we're back better than ever and rested, rejuvenated, and ready to go because the off-season is really one of my favorite times of the year. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the dedication. You have to put in some hours because it's a good stretch before training camp gets started. And of course, you got to keep some pieces of interest in order to keep you guys at peak interest. So that's what I do. And I thrive at TUN, but I don't do it just myself. Of course not. I got to bring in my right-hand man and good friend of the show, Tyler Staggs. Good to see you. It has been a hot minute, man. We haven't seen each other since May.
Man, it's like you said, it's been a minute, but it's good to be back. I was telling you before the show, man, I've been itching to get back here. Glad to finally be back. Talking Titans with you here on a Monday night. Feels good.
Feels real good. I mean, especially the fact OTAs continue to roll on. We've got a lot to talk about. Big topic today with Xavier Restrepo, probably, arguably, maybe the best undrafted free agent acquisition the Tennessee Titans may have possibly ever made. I mean,
people are saying
LeGarrette Blount, I think, was discussed in the comments, I think, a little bit, but I wouldn't argue that. But at the same time, I would say I think LeGarrette Blount's claim to fame was really that game where he sucker punched that poor kid from Boise State. But hey, LeGarrette Blount went out and had himself a career regardless. I'm not trying to say he didn't do anything worthwhile in football. That's one acquisition I would have loved to see work out for the Tennessee Titans. Unfortunately, didn't do that. But hey, LeGarrette Blount went on to have a very solid career after all. Well, Tyler, I mean, let's just go ahead and cut through the BS, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's just jump into the OTAs. We got a lot to talk about, especially with how this team continues to bond the 2025 draft class. Let's not waste a minute, man. Let's roll.
Let's do it.
Jumping into the first segment. Joining me, Tyler Staggs. I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. Let's hit our first segment with the kickoff.
And here's the kick.
So, Tyler, I mean, as I said, and everybody knows, been a month. We haven't been able to have our back and forths as we usually do on the show. And of course, I think that's one of the best narratives we get, especially when these times roll around. So, you know, we'll set Cam Ward aside for a second. Mm-hmm. Who's impressed you so far in the OTA sessions?
Setting Cam Ward aside, I mean, obviously, I know we're going to be talking about Xavier Restrepo tonight, but I'm liking some of the things that I'm seeing from Shamir DK. You know, it seems like him and Cam Ward are getting that connection down. And, you know, I know we talked about this after the draft happened, but getting some of that legit speed added to the wide receiver group from a young guy. So DK's a guy that, you know, he's kind of impressed me and that I plan on keeping my eye on.
And I'm glad you brought up DK because, you know, funny enough, I'm actually sitting through a film session of his yesterday. And a lot of his game is basically set up on him having breakaway speed, but also he gets a lot of chunk yardage on some pretty big plays, especially down the field. Given the fact that he'll actually have a quarterback that has an even better arm than what he had at Florida, that makes it a little more intriguing. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, you know, like you said, he has that breakaway speed, but he's also got you get the ball in his hands, let him go to work. And like you said, especially a guy that can rely on that breakaway speed, it always helps to have quarterback a little bit stronger arm, can get it out there for you, let you run under it. And I'll just take a clip that just plays over and over in my mind is that one that we got from the Titans OTAs of that back corner of the end zone catch, throw by Ward, DK coming down with it, getting both feet in, just adding to his game, I feel like even more there.
And one thing I don't think we talk a lot about, let's remember DK actually a transfer student out of Wisconsin. So I think this doesn't get discussed, especially amongst, your average Titan fan. But Mike Bergonzi really capitalized on guys that played in multiple schools, especially from a standpoint of adding guys that are comfortable playing in a multiple system offense.
Yeah. And like you said, that's something that can really be easily overlooked. And I know there's times where, you look back probably years ago when people were like, oh, well, this guy, look at all the different schools he went to. He must be a problem, or, is there a character issue there? But I don't, I mean, it's not always a bad thing. These guys going to different schools. And like you said, with Bergonzi, looking at some of these guys that were at two, three different schools and having to learn different systems, like that just show, and still having productive years or quality tape, like that can speak volumes because you're asking them to do that now anyway. You're asking them to come in, learn a new system, and get up to speed and be ready to go for year one in the NFL. Well, they already have a little bit of experience doing that because they've been around to these different systems. They've picked up on different things. They've shown that they can learn the playbook. They've shown that they are willing to dive into the playbook to get a better grasp of it. So, definitely great qualities to have.
Shout out to our buddy Titan Bros saying it is nice to see our pair of fourth round rookies can do when a real quarterback throws them the ball. So, yeah, we're pretty excited, Titan Bros, especially with the OTA situation going on. Shout out to Steven, by the way. Good seeing you, buddy. We better score either Alexander or Pratt since Houston Texans now have a combo of Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb in the running game. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see what the Texans do with them, Steven. But at the same time, I'm really more concerned about their offensive line coming into this year. Can they continue to do a good enough job to keep their quarterback protected, especially the fact that they're going to have to add another running back to add some kind of dynamic going forward in 2025. But I digress. Let's jump on that topic because I think that's an interesting one as well, Tyler. I mean, Alexander Pratt definitely going to be open to any kind of situation going forward. Do you see the Titans potentially pursuing any of these players, especially Pratt, since there's bigger ties with the Cincinnati situation?
Yeah, so for me, I don't really see the Titans going after Jair Alexander. Uh, I think he's a guy, he's probably going to want to go to a contender anyway. And, you look at the Titans cornerback room, like, yes, it would be another veteran guy. He's a guy that when he's on his game, he's one of the top corners in the game. But I don't know that that's really where we need to look at adding someone right now. But Pratt is a guy that catches my interest because, you Titans went out, signed Cody Barton, and now the big question is who's going to be starting next to him on this Titans defense as our other linebacker. And, obviously you hope that some of the second year guys, younger guys like Cedric Gray, James Williams, that they can take steps forward and fill that role. But it never hurts to bring in another veteran guy, a guy who was a leader on that Cincinnati defense he adds that veteran presence again, that veteran knowledge, and we're and like you said, he's familiar with Brian Callahan. Like there's a little bit of a connection there. And I've also seen reports where the Colts could end up being interested in Pratt because Pratt's DC from Cincinnati's now with the Colts. So there's that connection. So even more of a reason to go after him to keep your division rival from getting him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really want to see some of these rookie guys get an opportunity, and even the second year guys. And I kind of have to put Gray as in that rookie class because we didn't even get to see him do much, going into last year. I'm more intrigued to see what he can be going forward. And I know it's interesting and, it's fun when you see some top tier guys fall into the free agent pool. Alexander and Pratt are definitely going to have some situations going forward, but that's the fun thing about being a fan about it. You want to get excited. You want to see your team make these acquisitions of top tier talent to see if your team can move to the next level and compete with teams like the Texans right now that are ready to win the division once again. Because, Lord knows Titan fans are going to get upset if they don't get a guy that's going to make a difference and start making some phone calls.
You don't know who I am, but I know where you live.
And I'm just saying we don't need that kind of situation going forward. But, understandable as that, I also look down the road, and it's a pretty interesting linebacking core coming into next year in the draft. So I feel the Titans could address that as well, especially looking at a couple of key guys. Harold Perkins from LSU really just intrigues me, Tyler. And if he's available in the draft next year, I think that's a shot the Titans need to take, especially if he is first round talent that could fall in the second round to them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think really what it comes down to, if you're the Titans, as far as if you want to pursue Pratt or not, obviously OTAs have been going on. The Titans, they're getting close looks at these younger guys. Like we know they went out and got, as I mentioned earlier, Cody Barton. You already see his energy and how he's able to help become a leader already for this defense. But it's up to the Titans on how they feel about these younger guys right now, on if what they're seeing from them, they feel like they're ready to go ahead and take that next step, or if, maybe you pursue another veteran, even at, say you get him on a 1-year deal, bring him in. Again, I'm fine either way. I feel like, because I'm like you, I want to see these younger guys get a chance, see what they can do, because you want these younger guys to succeed because that sets you up even better for the future. And ways you get better is by, getting that chance to put in the work and be out there playing. But like I said, it all comes down to what the Titans are seeing right now from those guys.
And Stephen brings up another interesting talking point, and I know we hit on this together, while you were off. Mm-hmm. But we'll go ahead and hit that in a second. And I'm glad you bring up Peter Woods, Stephen, but I'll put a pin in him and give you my thoughts on Peter Woods because I really do like him as well, but I do have some evaluation points, but we'll stick that on the pin board for a moment. So Jeffrey Simmons not showing up to mandatory minicamp. You and I both discussed it at length. I'm a little bit on one mind side and you're on the other. I'll let you go ahead and describe your take on what you think Jeffrey Simmons missing out on mandatory minicamp means, and I'll follow that up with my rebuttal.
Yeah, so for me, I know when you look at the OTAs, it's voluntary. Guys, these veteran guys, they don't have to show up. And I don't think it's necessarily a big deal that Jeffrey Simmons wasn't there. But I do think it is a small deal. And not even from the aspect of worrying about Simmons showing up ready to play, being in shape, all of that. I know he's going to do that. I'm not worried about that. For me, I would have liked to have seen Jeffrey Simmons at these voluntary OTAs because you're supposed to be one of the leaders of this team. You have a lot of new pieces coming in, and you're coming off of a 3-14 season. We know that the Titans are trying to build this new culture. So for me, that's why I make a small deal of it, is because out of all, I mean, you're only one person shy of perfect attendance at voluntary OTAs. And it just so happens to be the guy that's supposed to be one of the leaders of this team, the leader of the defense, the guy up front for this defensive line. And again, coming off of a 3-14 season where you're trying to build this new culture, I just think it would have been better to be there and already be bonding with these guys. But again, not saying it's a big deal, but it is a small deal to me.
And to me, it's a no deal. And I say that because he's working out, he's doing his own thing. If we're in the middle of training camp, I'd be more concerned. But, at this point, I get the aspect. He's the leader. He needs to show up. He needs to be the guy that, sets the example. But I also need to see that from other players. You draft Cam Ward to be the face of your franchise and potentially be the long-term answer quarterback going forward. That's the guy you're going to put a C on his chest. So that's who I want to see have an opportunity step up and see what they can do. To me, it's always interesting, especially in situations like this. Younger guys, who's going to step up, who's going to stand out. Cam's already basically getting a lot of glowing reviews. Femi Oladejo, a guy I wish I had an opportunity to talk to you about a couple weeks ago. He's definitely just off the charts, and he's got that dog in him.
He does. I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people kind of liked, and this is just kind of irrelevant from what he's done on the field and just the energy he brings. I know some people were a little excited about him changing to like that jersey number 7 and everything, but I'm a little disappointed because Keith Bullock always was one of my favorite players growing up. And I know we've had some other guys wear that 53 jersey, but Femi was a guy that was getting me excited about someone wearing that 53 again. I mean, looking the part, everything, and I'm like, man, I might have to see about getting another 53 jersey here. But, so a little disappointed in the number change to 7. But, yeah, Femi, like you said, just seeing the clips of the energy that he brings, and like that dude, he's always up here on that level for anything that he's doing. I'm excited to see him heading into this year, and I think he's going to get several chances.
Absolutely. And I mean, this defensive line just continues to be young, aggressive, just in your face. And I think that's really just what Mike Bergonzi's wanting to build on that side of the ball. Energetic, in your face, tenacity, aggressive. As Denard Wilson said in one of the previously released Tennessee Titan videos, they're going to defend each blade of grass out there on the field. That's the kind of player they're looking for. So now that we've gotten through just a few guys, Cam Ward, the darling, the talked about player, the just gives me goosebumps. I see him throwing balls all over the field and making these dynamic plays. Are we getting too excited, Tyler? Or is the excitement level where it needs to be right now?
Oh, man, that's a good question, because really when it comes down to it, You're talking about the guy that we took with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He plays the most important position on the field. You hear good things about him, like when he's coming in, coaches are having to make him leave at night because he's there putting in the work. You see the clips. And so, rightfully so, we should be this excited about it. I mean, why not? Why would you not be this excited about him? I do think also, though, there is a good mix where you people could maybe say we're being overly excited because we haven't seen him play an actual snap yet in a game where the pass rush is live. And, we know things can change in the drop of a hat when it comes to that. But I have confidence that what we're seeing from Cam right now, knowing the work ethic that he has, that he's going to be fine going forward. And in that confidence that I have that he's going to be fine, I think we're at the right level of excitement.
And shout out to Rossi. Rossi put out a short, and he's kind of pumping the brakes on just getting too over exhilarated on Cam Ward, and I understand that. Not everybody's going to feel the way everybody else feels. It's great the way that Cam's come out and put himself in a position to be successful, and he's showing that he's got a good skill set. But of course, that's not in pads. That's not behind an offensive line that's trying to take care of business in front of the defensive line. And of course, it's not game preparation. It's just practice.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I'll say this. It's nice to have something to be excited about. Because how much of a narrative did we try to sell last year, Tyler? I mean, Will Levis, there were good things we were hearing and some good things we saw, but they just never pieced together. Mm-hmm. Then by week 6, it was damn near impossible to even bring up anything positive going forward. I mean, it's hard to get a fan base excited when your quarterback's going out there and just putting memes up on a daily basis. So from that narrative, I have to kind of be a little bit excited about a guy that's actually giving me something to be excited about, even if it's just clips, even if it's just something where I'm like, oh, this is intriguing. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, shout out to Rossi. Rossi always puts out great shorts, puts out great shows. I get where he's coming from. Not everybody's going to feel that way, and they don't want to get burned because, let's be honest, we've got quarterback PTSD. There's a fan base that has seen guys come through and come around. I don't think they're a wood chipper by any means for the quarterback position. They don't absolutely destroy guys. They just can't find a guy just to stay for 5+ years. I mean, you had success with Marcus Mariota. You had some success with Vince Young. You had some success with Ryan Tannehill. You're looking for the long-term answer. You're looking for a guy that can go 10+ years. That's always the goal in the NFL, and it's never promised. Is Cam Ward the guy? Does he have the skill set? I believe he does. I said in the last show when we were on here a couple of weeks ago, when Titan Bros was on here, I feel that Cam Ward could easily be in the top 10 when it comes to stats because he's been in multiple offenses. He knows how to run an offense. He knows how to run a huddle. He knows what he's doing. And if Brian Callahan's worth his salt, he's going to let him play to his strengths, which is why Joe Burrow was able to have success.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add this because from the time of the last show, I don't believe and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe that Easton's article was out yet about the Titans getting the VR stuff for Cam and just really, I guess, anybody that wants to use it. But the same VR setup that Jaden Daniels had for last year. And yeah, I bring that up because knowing Cam's work ethic, like, and only being able to get so many reps out on the field, the fact that he can add in more mental reps with this VR headset and that he can turn the speed up to where it's like 1.5 times or 2 times faster than the normal speed, like, Cam is going to take full advantage of whatever he can to get those reps in and help the game slow down for him. And, that's just, again, it comes back to his work ethic. He wants to succeed. He wants to be the best. He wants to compete. And from coming in at 5 every morning to being made to leave the building, adding in this VR headset, your prediction from a couple weeks ago could very well come true.
I mean, I'm hanging my hat on that. That's a pretty bold take for me to put my butt out on the line, but I still feel confident enough about it. So before we go ahead and get to our commercial break, Stephen brings up another free agent potential, Terry McLaurin. Tyler, yay, nay on your end?
I'm going to lean nay. And I hate to say that, but I know Terry's closing in on 30, but I don't think he has. I mean, he was in the same draft class.
Well, hold up now. A 30-year-old receiver? What's wrong with you?
and here's it's kind of like, I feel like almost with Calvin Ridley. Like, Calvin Ridley over 30, but he had those couple of years where he wasn't playing, so his legs are still kind of fresh. Terry McLaurin, he was in the same draft class as A.J. Brown, so it's not like he's been in the league 10 years taking hits. But also for me, I'm like, we've got these younger guys. Also know that maybe not necessarily the 2026 draft class, but 2027, there could be some guys that the Titans could go after at the receiver position, keep getting younger. So, yeah, I don't know that I want to give up the draft capital right now.
I really don't want to give up the draft capital at this point. I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing would make me more happy, especially in the wide receiver room, if at least one of the guys panned out. Whether it was DK, whether it was Imanora, whether it's Restrepo, which we'll be discussing in our next segment. At some point, I feel like Mike Bergonzi went out and got a whole slew of different skill set guys to look for the future. Terry McLaurin, to me, just kind of seems like a luxury at this point. He wants to be somewhere where he can contend. With Washington, he has that opportunity, but he wants to get paid as well. He's in a contract year, responsible and respectful. Respectfully, I will say, I understand. You get a chance to make your money, man. These guys only get, if you can get 2 good contracts out of your NFL career, you're doing something right. McLaurin's obviously in a position to get an extension, and I think he should because he's a valuable asset to their offense. I figure they're going to get it worked out regardless because Washington can ill afford to lose a guy like that because and I know, they're trying to make another run.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, I'm going to say it's a no on my end. I want to see what these young guys can do. And if it's another year where we have to try and look for another wide receiver to add to the room going forward, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, you got Calvin Ridley, you got Tyler Lockett. I know Van Jefferson's not a sexy pick, but at the same time, it's kind of like owning a Honda Accord. It gets you there. As long as it starts, I mean, I'm fine with it.
Right.
But I'm saying that's not a knock on any Honda owners anyway. I'm just saying it's not the most eye-catching thing. That's Van Jefferson. You know where I'm going. All right, guys, we'll take our quick.
I got you. Honda's bad.
Well, no, don't be putting words in my mouth, because that could be a potential sponsor down the road. Wink, wink. So if you drive a Honda, it's a serviceable vehicle. So we'll just say that. I'm not going to say it's a bad vehicle by any stretch of the imagination, because, maybe there's something down the road involved with that. So if you drive a Honda, stick up with it. So respect. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Xavier Restrepo, gas or pass? Is the hype real? It might be, but we got to talk about it anyway, so quick break. We'll be right back.
Watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Guys, you're killing it in the chat as always. Love the insights you put, love the questions you ask, love everything that you bring to the show, because you make the show go, and it's because of you the Titan Upload Network is a thriving success. So don't forget, guys, if you love the show, help it grow. Tighten up that like button for us. Like and subscribe, and ring the bell for all future notifications, because it's the off season. We know it sucks. We know there's not a lot to talk about before right now in training camp, but I promise you, we got some pretty good things coming down the pike. We are going to keep you guys entertained up until football starts rolling back around in July. So trust me, we got your back. Don't worry about it. I mean, Tyler, we're not going to steer them wrong.
Never.
Of course not. We're not other shows that I'm not going to say out loud, because I'm not going to be that guy, because I don't want to cause grudges here. Or do I? Nah, it's too early for that. I don't need to be causing a scene, weeks before we even get things started. So I'll behave. I'll try to behave.
There we go.
Like, I have to be the bigger man. Course point, I did want to put a pin in. Stephen, I'm glad you did bring up, I can't find the comment. That's just my luck. See, Stephen came up with a good point, and I actually got where I put his comment. But there we go. So you were bringing up Peter Woods, and funny enough you bring that up. I did get a chance to do a little film study on him yesterday. I love the kid. He's going to be a top 5 to top 8 player in the draft for 2026 if he has a solid year, stays healthy. The one thing that bothers me about him, he's too quick, if that makes sense. And when I say that, he ends up in the backfield at some point, and he misses a lot of easy tackles, whether it's on the running back or whether it's a sack potentially on the quarterback. He's too quick for a guy that's big. And it's like he just hasn't figured that out yet. It's coachable. It's a situation I know that can be corrected with time and with a little bit of work. But a lot of plays he kind of leaves out there on the field. And it just kind of makes me just a little It's like that's what separates you from being a lock in the top 5 and potentially just falling a little further down the road. But I still think top 5, top 8 player. So that's just my take. Tyler, no, you probably haven't had a chance to watch him, but check him out. I promise you he's really fun to watch on that Clemson defensive line. They're going to have some guys that are really going to be intriguing.
Yeah, like you said, I haven't had a chance to look at him yet, but I'll keep that name in mind and dive in a little bit and see what he's all about.
He's all about some defense. That's what he's all about. Shout out to Titan Bros, by the way. We love having him on a show. We got to get him back. I love having a 3-show panel when we have the opportunity to. Bro's definitely one of those guys we have fun talking to. Mm-hmm. Shout out to him, by the way, for filling in a couple weeks ago. We had a good show, but we got Tyler back, so everything's all good. Jumping into our next segment, Xavier Restrepo. Is it gas? Is it pass? Let's talk about it. Easily, without a doubt in my mind, Tyler, Xavier Restrepo, the moment he became a Tennessee Titan, this might have been one of the most anticipated moves that wasn't a draft pick. And you and I both know, we talked about this at length. We talked about this with our buddy at Locked On Canes. I mean, it was months and months of speculation of where he could go in the draft. Could he end up with the Titans? And of course, he ends up with the Titans, but in a situation I don't even think anybody was possibly fathoming. And due to just a bad 40 time, I feel this was a gift that just fell in Tennessee Titans' lap.
Yeah, and now you got to put the speculation out there a little bit. I mean, just for fun, don't really believe this. Did Restrepo set it up? Did he purposefully run a little bit slower just to kind of make sure, hey, I want to end up with Cam there in Tennessee?
Come on, no. We're not playing conspiracy theories here.
Come on, Michael, just a little bit of fun.
That's not fun. That's speculation. Speculation doesn't sell. That just makes people just even more furious with the fact that it's like this dude just tanked his drive. Well, I mean, think of it this way, Tyler. Why are you tanking in the first place to get paid less money? Yeah, this dude was potentially talked about as a late second round to a third round pick in some discussions.
Yeah, I don't really believe that he purposefully tanked it. It comes back to hamstring tightness and just it kills me, which don't get me wrong. Now the way it turned out, the fact that he was still able to end up being a Titan, I wouldn't change it. But it kills me. But
you were willing to go. You were willing to go and make a controversial statement potentially that he tanked his stock potentially. That's crazy talk, my friend. Tyler's on his soapbox today, going out with some conspiracy theories.
I'm telling you, just having a little fun with it. No, what's crazy to me is the fact that it seems like every other team. Obviously, we know the Titans had a plan going into the draft. They didn't deviate from their board, but even the fact that Restrepo, because of that 40 time, was not drafted. I mean, you turn on the film of the guy and see what he was doing, how he was getting open, his rate of success against man coverage, how he could find holes in zone coverage, being the leading receiver in Miami history, like how quick he is. The fact that he went undrafted is still just crazy to me. And all because of a 40. Like, come on.
And I mean, let's be honest. There's always a situation where a player falls out in particular rounds, and whether it's a 40 time, whether it's a lift, whether it's drills, I get it. And Restrepo went on a couple of shows and basically said, it was probably a mistake running the 40. He probably felt at some point he was running about a 4 or 5, and he felt confident, getting ready for up to that point. But right when he started out on the run, obviously he felt some discomfort, and that obviously kind of put him in a position to just be at a disadvantage. And it's unfortunate because, obviously he could have been picked. He could have been a draft pick. But at the same time, I feel that Xavier Restrepo is right where he needs to be. And if you're a Tennessee Titan fan, I know you 100% agree with that. The consistency going forward, I think what the Titans are, they're really just in a position where they don't have playmakers. We understand that, Tyler. We understand the fact every Sunday in 2024, if your name wasn't Calvin Ridley, it was almost like watching getting teeth pulled.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel a little more confident and a little better going into a situation where I'm like, okay, I think everything needs to be laid out on the table in 2025. There's every job right now, I think, should be in jeopardy going forward. I think a handful of these guys, you already know who the starters are going to be. But in that wide receiver room, if your name's not Calvin Ridley or Tyler Lockett, it's up for grabs. And I understand the fact, you do have some people saying Restrepo, it's easy to get lost in this wide receiver room. He's Cam Ward's buddy. Obviously, the Titans want to do something and try and bring in a guy that he's comfortable with, and did have an opportunity to bring in somebody that put up some massive yardage and make some pretty decent plays. But I mean, Tyler, let's be honest. The odds of an undrafted wide receiver are kind of very slim at making a final 53-man roster. What makes Xavier Restrepo the exception of the rule?
So, to me, what makes Xavier Restrepo the exception to the rule is, again, we've already hit on the 40. I'm not going to bring that back up again. But talking about his success versus man coverage, also his ability when the defense is in zone coverage to find the holes in that zone, be on the same page as his quarterback. You talked about it last year. You look at it. Playmakers outside of Calvin Ridley, we didn't consistently see a lot. But you look back at Miami, Xavier Restrepo, I mean, it was like he was being a playmaker all the time for Cam and that Miami offense. Like, he was that security blanket. And he's also a guy, he's not afraid of putting in that extra work. He's another one of these guys with Cam Ward coming in at 5 a.m, he knows, especially being an undrafted guy, that he's going to have to work even harder to get his chance to make that final 53. But he doesn't shy away from that. Like, he's willing to show up, put in that extra work, do whatever it takes. And again, I think the thing that really sets him apart is his ability to, and I see it in the comments there from Drayden, his ability to win on routes. He's not a burner. He's not going to just outrun you down the field, but he's quick. He runs crisp routes. He gets that separation. And those are things at this next level in the NFL. If you can create separation for your offense, for your quarterback, that sets you apart.
One thing I don't think we talk enough about Xavier Restrepo, and I mean, and I know Miami fans will back us up on this, and I'm sure we got a lot of Miami fans watching the show tonight, is his strength. The kid's strong. Like, he almost brings in like a Julian Edelman or, a Dini Amendola kind of strength to this team. They're physical. They're in your face. They can push off guys and make plays. They're not the dynamic guys that are going to like make separation and hit deep balls every time. But at the same time, there's that physical aspect to their game that takes them to that next level. And I can see that in Restrepo in some flashes.
I agree.
So getting to the next point, and I think this is what it's going to come down to. We all understand that this wide receiver room, I honestly think there's going to be 7 positions. They're going to have 7 wide receivers on this roster this year. What's Xavier Restrepo going to have to do to separate himself from the bottom 9 guys that are potentially vying for those last few spots?
What he's going to have to do to, pull away to be able to get one of those spots. Obviously, you got to keep putting in the work. I do think, I don't know that as far as being a returner, that'll really set him apart, because I think we're probably going to see like DK fill more of that role, like punt returner. But if Restrepo can not only find a way to keep winning on routes, creating separation that just has to be noticed, making plays in practice, but also find a way to contribute on special teams somehow, that'll be the thing that sets him apart to me.
But I got to disagree just a little bit. I think with the special team situation, they're going to weigh every option and see who's going to be the guy that can be the difference maker. And I think DK is going to be one of those guys, but it's a wide open slot. And I don't think you can really just rule Restrepo out of being in that position as well.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I think he will be in the mix. Just my opinion, I think DK is probably the favorite maybe right now to land that spot. But like you said, it is wide open for that position right now. Because as Titans fans, we want someone back there that we can trust.
I mean, believe me, there's not a lot of trust, especially the last couple of years. And we don't need Upload being on here and, giving us the business about just the entire situation of the kickoff or the punt return.
Oh my gosh!
The frustration's real. It's too real. So we talk about potentially being in the special teams and that kind of opportunity. So let me just say this. What I think makes Xavier Restrepo so intriguing and so special. It's the fact I don't think any of us ever expected a player like him to capitalize on an opportunity like that, especially going to a school like Miami, shatter the records that he did, now are in his name, and will always be there until the next guy has an opportunity to break them. I mean, Xavier Restrepo just comes off as a very mild, humble guy, very down to earth. And that's just the intriguing part about him that I feel that's likable. He's not flashy. He's not in your face. He's not cocky by any means. He's confident, but he's humble. And those are just great qualities in a player, especially with a guy that just easily just catches your attention with just how he plays the game. And he be typing, you bring up a great point as well. He can really catch just about anything thrown to him. I think that's why you kind of overlook the 40 situation. Some of the catches that he made, Tyler, in his Miami career with Cam Ward were astounding at times.
Yeah. I mean, and to EB's point there, and I know you brought it up, but having great hands, being able to make those catches, being able to do the things he's able to do and be that reliable target. I mean, that's even more things that set him apart.
So, don't want to get into a negative aspect, but I do have to ask the tough questions, Tyler. What's going to keep Restrepo from making the final 53?
This may be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I'm going to say the only thing that would keep, in my opinion, the only thing that's going to keep him from making the 53 is if for some reason the Titans only decide to keep 5 wide receivers.
That just made me cringe all over.
Yeah.
That literally just made me cringe all over, because that also makes me feel they're going to keep 5 tight ends.
Again, I just, my opinion, that's, and look, I've said this ever since they picked Restrepo up. That's how confident I am that he is, to me, going to be on this roster. I think if the Titans keep 6 wide receivers, he's one of those 6. If they keep 7, he's locked in. If they keep 5, I could see him being the odd man out.
And to me, I really feel they're going to go heavy on the wide receiver this year. And, Titan Burrow brings up a good point. I think, the wide receiver room's potentially going to look like this. You got Ridley, Lockett, Jefferson, DK, Iamaner, Oliver, Porsche. Doesn't matter. He's not going to be on the team anyway.
No. See, I think Restrepo slides in over Oliver and Prochet. That's where I think he fits in, and why I say that if they only keep 5, that's when he, and I hope they keep more than 5, but that's where I think the line gets drawn for me, that he ends up not making it.
I mean, to me, him not making this 53, it just comes down to just miscommunication and just drop balls, which you hardly saw any of those in his collegiate career, but you're in the NFL now. So you're going to be held to a higher standard, especially where you're an undrafted free agent. Cam Ward can vie for you all he wants to at the end of the day, but if you're not going to go out there and take advantage of your opportunity, then that's on you. And I'm not saying he won't, but I'm going to say at this point, it's in his hands. If he wants to solidify being on this final 53, then he's going to have to continue to put the work in, and he's going to have to show out that he can play at a higher level. Forget the 50 time. Forget all of that. Now's where it really matters. And for the most part, from what we've heard and what we've heard other people show us, things are looking pretty good for him right now. But that's just for right now. It's going to determine, especially when training camp rolls around, can he continue that momentum? Can he continue to build with that momentum with preseason games going forward? I think that's what matters. But I will say this, Tyler. I don't think we've ever had an undrafted free agent garner this much attention, maybe ever.
Yeah, I'll definitely say, like, from the start of them being brought in, like, their rookie year, I don't think we've had one, um, to this level, to this extreme. But, again, rightfully so, because I mean, Restrepo was a guy that none of us expected to go undrafted. So, when he does, then gets brought in and paired back up with Cam, like, that just adds to the hype around him all around.
So the final thought is Xavier Restrepo. The hype, I feel, is very much going to be real, but it's going to come down to his work ethic. And when training camp rolls around, are him and Cam going to be able to connect the way they need to connect? He's going to have to earn that roster spot. Cam got him in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll also say his talent also helped.
Yeah.
The NFL's not going to just take guys just because other guys are like going to vie for him. They obviously knew what Restrepo is. Restrepo's got something that's special. Can he move it to the next level? I think with Cam Ward and potentially with other playmakers around him, that's possible. So for now, it's just, and I know we say this all the time, but it's the best answer we can give. It's a we'll see scenario. But so far, what we've seen, it's been pretty entertaining. And of course, with that, we'll take our final break, and when we come back, we love you, we mean it, but we got to close up shop and get you out back into the real world. So, quick break. We'll be right back after this.
I was literally like maybe 8 or 9 days sober, still kind of like detoxing a little bit. And I just start singing it, man, and something just comes over me. And we get to the chorus part when I did that pause. So come on, everybody. The moment where I had that spiritual awakening, that spiritual experience. And I knew in that very moment, like, this was what I was supposed to do in my life.
So come on, everybody. So come on, everybody. So come on, everybody. Just lean on me.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming to you on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Guys, you killed it in the comments. Your comments always mean the world to us when you give us good insight and good information. You keep the network rolling because of your support and, of course, everything that you do, and we can never do it without your help. So, as always, round of applause for you guys. And, of course, special shout-out to Recovery Unplugged, one of our sponsors of the show. If you're looking to make a difference within your life, reach out to Titans Rossi at his email or on Twitter at Titans Rossi. He'll be able to give you the help you're looking for if you're trying to get help to get away from drugs, alcohol, or a situation that you're just not in a good position to be in. I promise you guys, we give a shout out to our sponsor, Recovery Unplugged. Shout out to them. And of course, make sure you tighten up that like button for us before we get out of here, and share the show because sharing is caring. And make sure you ring the bell to help you get more content this off season, because that helps build up the algorithm going forward into 2025 for another Tennessee Titans hopefully successful football season. Man, I went off on a major tangent on that. But I digress. We love you. We mean it. But it's time to get you guys out of here. Final segment. Give me my theme music.
Closing time.
Good night, losers.
Well. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or schadenfreude anybody's situation, because Lord knows, NWI, there's a little soft and warm spot in my heart for him, but at the same time, he's not getting off to the start he wanted to in Miami, apparently, Tyler. And that's kind of one of those situations where I'm like, man, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, it's interesting, but at the same time, how much of this is maybe the media that covers the Miami Dolphins maybe didn't know exactly what they were getting in NWI. Like, maybe, they didn't do their research on him and just thought he was going to be, more of one of those top-notch guys that the Dolphins were bringing in.
I mean, we know exactly what he is. He's just a guy that's able to go out and make touchdowns.
Yeah. And, he can be a solid contributor on special teams. Like, again, I think obviously this is something that you sent to me. We thought that it would be a good close to this show. But, again, I don't know what the Dolphins media exactly expected that the Dolphins were going to get in Nick Westbrook-Akina. He's not, yes, he had so many touchdowns for the Titans last year, but it's not like he was always contributing elsewhere throughout the game. It wouldn't have, last year when it came down to it, if you told me Nick Westbrook-Akina's stat line for a game was 2 catches for, let's say, 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, yep, I could see that. If you told me he only had 1 catch in the game and it was a touchdown, yep, I can see that. He's not a guy that's just going to consistently go out there and be making plays on every down.
Here's probably the best example I can give of Westbrook-Akina. And I think this is just my opinion. It's like playing with a boomerang. You're either going to throw it and catch it, or you're going to throw it and catch it, and it's going to hit you in the nether region when you catch it.
Ow! My sperm!
So I'm just being honest right there. This Westbrook-Akina was either you were really excited to see what he could do, or you were going to be really bummed out. So Miami, you got somebody that can potentially get you some touchdowns. I'm not saying he won't, but I'm just saying don't have high expectations of him. Our whole aspect was we felt that he could potentially get himself up to a wide receiver 2 position, maybe even wide receiver 1 if you're John Robinson. I'd have to think that. I really have to think that in some ways. And I mean, having Jalen Waddle, and of course, I guess we'll see what happens with Cheetah's situation. You got a pretty good wide receiver core. So you got a chance to spread him around on the field. Good opportunities there, but just don't get your hopes up, because it's going to you're either going to be really happy or you're going to be really bummed out.
If you are a Dolphins fan, let me tell you exactly what you need to do, because I felt like this was most Titans fans over the last couple of years with Nick Westbrook-Akina. Your hopes for him this season, just hope that he's going to be a nice wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5 for you. And then if you go into the season with those hopes, he will probably end up being the leading touchdown scorer on your team. But if you go into the season with higher hopes, he's probably going to perform like a wide receiver 4 or 5.
I mean, that's a bold take. Just leading the team in touchdowns.
Well, I guess, okay, I'm thinking of it from the Titans aspect. So
I think you are. I'm just saying. I think he could give them an opportunity of making some catches and making some touchdowns. I don't see him leading, especially with the core that they have.
Never know. I mean, don't know what's going to happen with the Tyreek Hill situation.
If that's the case, then something is terribly, terribly gone wrong in Miami.
Well, I mean, we've seen it happen before.
Yes, we have, and I hope we don't see it again. We're trying to get out of that situation. That's why you don't want to date your ex. In fact, it kind of feels like we're just kind of creeping on our ex's DMs. I know this is our segment, but at the same time, I feel so dirty about it.
Hey, you brought it up.
I did, and I feel regret. But I'll tell you what you shouldn't feel regret about. Liking the show before you go, guys, because following us is the best thing to do at the Titan Upload Network. So we appreciate you for joining us on tonight's show. So make sure before you get out of here, tighten up that like button for us. Give us a ring of the bell for notifications. And, of course, sharing is caring. So share the show out to us because that is how we give you the best content out there for the Titan Upload Network. And with that being said, of course, we're going to continue to roll around the off season and get you whatever we can before training camp rolls around. And Tyler, before you know it, we'll be talking preseason football, which is what we need to be talking about.
Yes. Bring it on.
So that'll do it for us tonight. And don't forget, guys, check out the Roundtable Sports. They are a great group of individuals that continue to put out great content, and they're growing their channel as well. And we at the Titan Upload Network are excited to be a part of it. And check us out on Blue Sky, and shout out to one of our great sponsors, Recovery Unplugged. Give them a look if you're trying to get things on track in your life, or if you're trying to get away from drugs and alcohol. Reach out to Titans Rossi at his email or at Titans Rossi at Twitter. So whatever you need to do, we promise you Recovery Unplugged will have a great plan for you to go forward with your life and in the positive direction. But that'll do it for us, guys. We're out of here. We'll be back next week to talk more ball. This is where the fun stuff begins. We're going to be getting closer to NFL football. We are 90 days away, Tyler.
Bring it on.
So we just got to get through the tough part, but I promise you, we're already part way there. We'll get through the rest of this together. So, guys, we love you. We mean it. Thank you for joining us on tonight's show. So, for Tyler Staggs, I'm Michael Bishop at the Power Hour. And as always, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
You're watching the Titan Upload Network.